But with more details on that, we're joined by BCTF President Teri Mooring. Welcome back to the show. And let's talk, first of all, about this internal survey that was done within the BCTF. A lot of concerns. Teri, what was reflected in this survey when it comes to the biggest concerns teachers have right now for the learning environments?
So teachers identified health and safety as our top priority, and that wasn't a surprise to us. Health and safety has been the top priority all along, and that's understandable when you're in a pandemic. And so teachers need to be assured that health and safety, that the strictest measures of health and safety procedures and protocols will be in place, and they'll be in place consistently. So we're really looking for a funding announcement that will allow school districts to kind of guarantee that all the cleaning supplies and the personal hygiene products are going to be available throughout the entire year. We've also long been advocating for PPE, like face masks and shields, to be provided to teachers upon request. We think that's a really important part of teachers being comfortable in the return to work, and that they need to be provided by school districts. And so we're hoping to see some dedicated funding for that as well.
Safety, obviously a huge concern with COVID-19. What about the workload and the stress levels that some teachers are facing with that voluntary return in June and as we look ahead to September?
We were really in an emergency situation in June, and so things happened very quickly, and we moved to remote learning extremely rapidly. Many teachers had to learn new platforms and new ways of teaching students in that format. And then when we returned in June to a partial return, teachers had to sustain all the work they were doing remotely and teach students in class. And so that meant that the workload is unsustainable. And so we made it work, though, because we were in an emergency situation and we all understood that. We now have the opportunity for some careful planning to happen for September. The ministry has established some working groups, and we have 25 teachers sitting on those working groups, and they are extremely experienced and knowledgeable teachers, and they're the frontline workers right now. And so we're also calling on government to continue the work of those groups. They need to continue to meet throughout the summer. Even with this announcement, there's still a great deal of planning that needs to be done, and that planning needs to be informed by classroom teachers and specialist teachers.
And how does the shift online and distance learning, how can that sometimes negatively impact the education of a student?
So we find that we have many vulnerable students in our system, and one of the vulnerabilities, of course, is lack of access to computers and even internet access, and so that was an issue. We also had families dealing with a lot of critical issues, layoffs, family illnesses, and so there was also a really important mental health component that really caused us concern about some of our students and how they were doing. We saw some of our older students not engaging in remote learning, and that was really concerning. And we had other students that form of learning just doesn't work for them. We had families sharing one computer, and we were in a pandemic, in a very highly uncertain situation with less information than we have now. So there was a multitude of concerns around the way that learning was structured in the spring. But again, we all understood that. We had some students that were thriving, and that's always going to be the case. But we had many more students that we were really concerned about, and we know that in-class learning with our students is really best for most of our students, and so we're really interested in students returning to school to the greatest extent that it's safe to do so.
All right, well, we look forward to the government's announcement later on the details and your thoughts as well as we get closer to the return to school in September. Teri, thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you so much.
All right, you have a great day. That's Teri Mooring, BCTF President. Coming up, we'll